So welcome back everybody. In this section, we're going to be talking about how do we change. So, in order for us to change, we need to think greater than our environment, our body, and time. Now I know you understand what those words mean, but to make it simpler for you, we're going to cut this section into 3 parts. The first part, in order for us to change, we have to think greater than our environment. So I'm going to leave you now with a video by Dr. Joe to explain to you what do we mean by thinking greater than our environment. Okay, turn to the person next to you and explain what you've learned. Okay, any questions? So let's do a small recap here. In order for us to change, we need to think greater than our environment. So what is our environment made of? It's made of people, objects, places, and time. We're in a time. So in order for us to change, we need to think greater than the things in our environment. Now, our brain is a reflection of everything known in our environment. Known means we've experienced it, which also means we have a neurological network assigned to every person, object, place, and time. And every one of those elements has an emotion associated to it. So, for example, you might have frustration towards your coworker. You might have insecurity towards your boss. You might have anger towards your neighbor or your friend. Every time you think about your coworker, for example, you're gonna feel frustrated. And if you feel frustrated and feelings are a record of the past, then it means you're thinking in the past. So in order for us to change, we need to become greater than the circumstances in our environment. And if each and everyone does that, we have a new environment. Okay, so I would like a volunteer to read the top of page 20, please. Yeah, thank you. Awesome. So these are some of the examples of how we can become greater than our environment. So can you think of current situations or circumstances in your personal or work life where you need to think greater than your environment? Pick one, then imagine, conceptualize, or envision a different personal reality. I'm going to give you 10 minutes to think about it. Okay, anyone would like to share? Yeah? Thank you. Anyone else? Awesome. Okay. So, moving on to page 21 of your workbook. On top of the page, we read why your personal reality stays the same. So, research have shown that human beings think about 60 to 70,000 thoughts every single day. And 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. 90%. So can you identify yours? I would like you to take a few minutes and jot down some of the current or common thoughts that you think about every single day. Okay, anyone would like to share? Thank you. Okay, perfect. Okay, so on the bottom of the page 21, we read, thinking equally to everything you know in your life will only reaffirm everything you know in your life. So if we think the same, we are reaffirming or recreating the same every single day. That's why the model we've taught you is so powerful, because it allows you to become aware of those common recurring thoughts every single day and gives you an opportunity to think new thoughts. Okay. Now, turning on to page 22 of your workbook, I would like a volunteer to read the top left section, please. Yes, thank you. Wow. So your environment is made up of your experience with people, such as family, parents, partners, friends, clients, things such as the car you drive to work, the bed you sleep in, the office furniture, your desk, computer, emails, coffee mug, at different times and places, such as the Monday morning meeting, the midweek sales status meeting, the water cooler conversations, places where you go with your friends or family, etc., etc. So let's jump now to an activity. On page 23 of your workbook, I would like you to think about your organization, your work team, your office, your work environment, or any situation. It can be work or non-work related. Who are the people you work with? Upper management, customers, vendors. Who are the people you routinely see, talk to, or interact with? Look around you. What do you see? What items are routinely around you? Your computer, your books, your files, your calculators, telephones. And what are some of your routine and common times and places? Like arriving to work at 7 a.m., parking in the same lot, the 10 a.m. staff meeting. And based on your inventory of your environment, how are you staying the same? How is your personal reality creating your personality? Remember, we cannot think greater than our environment if we do not know what our environment is made of. So take a few moments and jot those down. Okay, anyone would like to share? Yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Awesome. Okay. Now, before we move on to the next section, I just want you to know that there are some great things that happen in our environment, some good positive things that happen that shape who we are. But what we're teaching you is to become aware of the things that are keeping you stuck in your environment or things that are draining you in your current environment. That's the work we're teaching you. Okay. Any questions before we move? Okay. Now, in order for us to change, we need to think greater than our bodies. So I'm going to welcome Dr. Joe again to explain to you how do we think greater than our body. Okay. Turn to the person next to you and explain what you've learned. Any question? Okay, so let's do a small recap here. Every time we have a thought, we make a chemical. And if it's a good thought or a happy thought, we make a good or happy chemical. On the contrary, if it's a bad or negative thought, we make a bad or negative chemical. Now, there are two ways that the body becomes the mind. One is a habit. What's a habit? A habit is the routine or the program that you do every single day, from the moment you wake up, all the way until you get to work, all the way until you go back to bed at night. And when you repeat, and the repetition of this over and over and over again conditions the body to become the mind. Another way is the thinking and feeling loop. So if you're thinking and feeling and feeling and thinking in the same way for years on end, you're conditioning the body to become the mind again. For example, if you're feeling insecure, you're going to think insecure thoughts. And those insecure thoughts are going to drive more feelings for you to feel insecure. And the repetition of it, you're going to say after 10 or 20 years, I am insecure. So let's discuss this a bit more deeply. Any volunteer would like to read some examples on page 24? Thank you. Excellent. So, thoughts are the language of the brain and feelings are the language of the body. And the way we think and the way we feel creates our state of being. So, let's dig in deeper. On page 25, how do we change? To change, you need to break the habit of being yourself. So what are habits? Any volunteer would like to read? Thank you. Exactly as we were talking about. So, anyone has overcome a habit and has never done it again? Yeah? Anyone would like to share an example? Perfect, thank you. Okay, so when we feel the way we think, the brain begins to monitor the internal chemistry in our body. Anyone would like to continue reading? Thank you. Okay, so this is what we call the thinking feeling loop. I would like to share with you a video called the Angry Man video for you to visualize exactly what happens in the thinking feeling loop. So, this is your brain, and these are thoughts that are occurring in your brain, such as my boss is unfair, I am underpaid, I am not appreciated, I am overworked, nobody listens to me. And those thoughts are going to create a level of mind, and your brain is going to understand it as I am angry. And whenever the brain signals I am angry, it's going to produce through its chemical brain called the limbic brain, which we're going to be talking about later section, a chemical. So every time you have a thought, you're going to produce, the brain produces a chemical that's going to signal, that's going to travel all the way to your spinal cord and activate the adrenal glands. And those adrenal glands are going to release hormones in your body, angry hormones. And whenever the body releases those hormones, you're going to feel angry. And because the brain and body are in constant communication, those feelings are going to inspire new angry thoughts, such as, I'll write a nasty email, what an idiot driver, people are so stupid, I'm right and they're wrong, he took credit for my idea. And those thoughts are going to produce a new level of mind, which are going to make you even more angry. And once the brain thinks I am angry, it's going to produce a chemical in the brain. And that chemical is going to be released from the body, from the brain to your body, through your spinal cord, again, all the way down to your adrenal glands. And once those adrenal glands are activated, they're going to release more angry hormones. And more angry hormones are going to make you feel more angry. And whenever you feel more angry, they're going to inspire more angry thoughts. So those thoughts, again, are going to be something like, I can't stand my spouse, I should get a divorce, I wish my boss would drop off the planet, I should quit my job, without me they are nothing. And again, those thoughts are going to create another level of mind, which are going to create more anger. And this is how the thinking feeling loop is activated in your body. Again, the brain is going to release another chemical that's going to signal, that's going to travel again all the way through your spinal cord, activating those adrenal glands again to produce more angry hormones, and you're going to feel even more angry. And this is what we call the thinking feeling loop. Okay? So turn to the person next to you and explain what you've learned in this video. Any question? I would like you to know that it's not just about positive thinking, because you can think positively, but if you're feeling negatively, nothing is going to change. That's why the model, we go back to the model, because the model is so powerful, because every time you have a new thought, and it's going to make new, it's going to produce, give you another, make new choices, which is going to lead to new behaviors that are going to release or make you feel anew. Okay? So, any questions before we continue? All right. Now, moving on to page 26. What is our state of being? Any volunteer would like to read? Thank you. So whenever you say I am anything, what you're saying is, because I am is a declarative state, so whatever you say after the words I am affirms your state of being. The moment the body begins to move out of this chemical order and familiarity, we feel discomfort or uncomfortable. And it's okay. We have to feel uncomfortable because that's how we are changing, that's how we're growing. Now, just because you have a thought, that doesn't necessarily mean it's true. So not every thought that comes into your mind is true. So that's why we have to become aware of those thoughts in order to avoid feeling and getting back into this thinking feeling loop. Okay? So let's jump into an activity. On page 27 of your workbook, how do you frequently feel? What emotions do you experience on a regular basis? And what is the message from your body? What was your mind saying? An example might be, if you feel impatient, the message from your body is impatience. So what is your mind saying? I don't have enough time, this person is wasting my time, I have too much on my plate, and it's impossible to get it all done correctly. So take a few moments and jot down what are some of those messages from your body and what's your mind saying. Now, once you have that written down, I would like you to recall a time in your life when you thought and acted beyond a very familiar and strong emotion. If you could identify an example, you do know how to think, act, and feel greater than your body. Okay. Anyone would like to share? Thank you. Wow. That's awesome. Anyone else? Thank you. Remember, when you use your familiar feelings as a barometer for change, you will never change because you will not feel like it. And that makes total sense. You cannot change if you're feeling in a certain way. You have to think in a new way in order for us to feel anew again. Okay? So, any questions before we move on to the next and final part of the section? All right. So, in order for us to change, we need to think greater than time. So, I'm going to welcome Dr. Joe again to explain how do we think greater than time. Okay, turn to the person next to you and explain what you've learned. Any questions? All right, so let's do a small recap here. Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So paying attention is being present. And the more you practice it, the better you get at it. And you know when someone is present in your life because they're paying attention to you. And you know when someone is not present in your life because they're not paying attention to you. Let's give an example here. How many of you here have been working on a project at work and you've been focused on your computer or laptop for like an hour or two, and you look up and 2 hours went by? Where were you? You were ahead of your time. You were so present in what you were doing that you lost track of time. Another example is you're driving down the highway and you're listening to your favorite artist and you're thinking and you're in the zone and you're so present with what you're listening to that you lose track of time again. Where were you? You were ahead of time. You were thinking greater than time. You were in the generous present moment, that sweet spot of the now. So I would like a volunteer to read page 28, please. Thank you. Exactly. The present moment is your sweet spot. If you are in the present moment, you are not in the program, which means you are not in the past or the future. You are not in the habit. Wow. Continue, please. Yeah? Excellent. As Einstein said, time and space are modes by which we think and not conditions in which we live. Beautiful. So, on page 29 of your workbook, we read, you can predict the future. Did you know that we can pick up our yesterday and drop it into our tomorrow? It makes total sense. Who here can share some ideas of how we are picking up our yesterday and dropping it into our tomorrow? Exactly, by thinking the same thoughts day in, day out. We're either stuck in the past or we are trying to predict a future based on the emotions of the past and we miss the present moment. Okay, so time to reflect. I would like you to note before we move that this is not about positive thinking. This is about changing how you think so that you can see other choices, act in new and different ways to create a new experience and feel a new emotion. So what do you want to remember from this practice? Take a few minutes and jot down what have you learned from this exercise. Any questions? Okay. We're gonna move now to one of the most powerful tools in this section. Practice tool number 2, it's called change. So any volunteer would like to read top of page 31? Thank you. Okay, an example would be, so you say, we will never have enough time to get this proposal in on time. And the person working with you will say change. And now you're going to have to think about a new possibility. So you will say, we can probably get most of it done. And if the person thinks that it's not a satisfying answer, he's going to tell you again, change. And you will think about a new possibility, which can be, I can see how it is possible if we work together through midnight. And the person goes, change. And you will go like, we can pull together as a team, divide it up and have it by the end of the day. So it's a more positive approach now. And the person will go again, change. And you'll be like, I'm so relieved and happy to know that we can work together and have it in by the end of the day. Let's celebrate when we're finished. So this is a very moving exercise. On page 32 of your workbook, I would like you to use any of the questions below to practice this tool. What self-limiting thoughts do you say to yourself? What negative or unproductive things do others hear you say? What frustrates you? What makes you angry or unhappy? What are some of your unhealthy behaviors? When do you hear yourself say, I can't? Write down one of your answers. Or something else, it can be anything else. So, I would like you to get into partners of A and B, and I would like you to take 5 minutes to work on this exercise. Okay? Every time you read one of the statements from your list above, person A, person B is going to say change, and the person A is going to change or revise that statement until you're satisfied with your results. Okay? Based on the coaching questions you were asked, can you change how you think about your original statement? If yes, record it. If no, keep trying until time is called. When time is called, record either your final move forward thought. Okay? So what have you learned or discovered about yourself as you went through this activity? Remembering, this is not about positive thinking, it's about changing how we think so we can see other choices, act in new and different ways, and create a new experience to feel a new emotions. So take 5 minutes and then we're going to switch to the other partner. Thank you.